It seems like customer service is a thing of the past, and I really don't want to smear Gen Z undeservedly and take the side of the boomers, but on this one, I have to admit they're right. They are indignant at the lack of customer service that is exhibited in young service workers today. And this was being discussed on X earlier this month. I'm so sick of the new style of customer service where people just stare at you when you walk up to the counter or service desk, and the car service guy saying, "Good morning, I'll be with you in a minute," immediately made me start thinking, wow, this is how you run a business. It's not even that I expect to get my beep sucked or anything, but how am I supposed to know I'm talking to the right person or that the person is ready for interaction and not working on something else if I'm greeted with a blank stare? And this is the stare that is now being dubbed the Gen Z gaze, because all of these Gen Z employees tend to give you the NPC fluoride stare when you walk into a place of business and expect you to do all the work.
It's a mixture of the SSRIs, the benzos, and the Adderall, and it's
And the doom scrolling.
And
the cherry on top is that they will turn the tablet around on you at the end of your interaction and ask you a question. I will never tip on a kiosk.
The tablet is going to ask you a question.
It's absolutely never going to happen. Do you tip on a kiosk?
Yes, I do.
Even like when it's like, I don't even know, you're at a Crumble. You know, they do that at Crumble. They'll like ask you a question, and it's like, you literally didn't even make these cookies.
The only place that I go to,
put them in a box.
The only place that I go to where this happens is Little Caesars, and I'm like, you know what?
They ask you a question at Little Caesars,
and you know what? They don't actually draw attention to it, but you know what? They're doing God's work, selling me my $8 pizza, so I tip them. Yes.
Okay. The situations where I tip are as follows: a sit-down restaurant, or getting my hair or my nails done. I don't tip at coffee shops or anything like that. Yeah. Because I don't believe they're doing anything tip worthy. It's supposed to be something that's a gratuity for a reason. This other tweet said, there is a new phenomenon that when you walk into food place or coffee shop, etc., they just stare at you and don't say anything at first. The Gen Z gaze. They're turning into humanoid robots that are going to get replaced by AI that's more polite to you.
They mentioned that it's even happening with servers and the person who greets you at the restaurant. That's like literally their job.
Right.
The hostess.
Right. Exactly.
That's literally their job, to say hello. And that's never happened to me. I've always, for the most part, we get pretty good service everywhere that we go. And
well, I think in an area like this that's a little more rural, you might be having a different experience than you would in a city. Maybe in a city there are just no like old world practices of basic etiquette.
What's your base level for tipping?
Base? What do you mean, like the percentage?
It's not great, but it's good enough. What do you tip percentage?
20. Is that too low in your opinion?
That's what a lot of people consider the norm.
Yeah, I just always put 20. It's also the easiest to do the math in my head.
I do 30. But then, like, if it's one of the ones where it's like, sometimes they give you the percentage, like it's like 15, 18, 20. Like, I will just pick the highest one unless it's really, really good. Then I'll do custom amount.
Well, it's also like,
but I've gotten pretty lucky. Like, I don't have I haven't had a lot of bad experiences with it. And I definitely do not punish the server if the food isn't good, because it's not their fault.
But if they are rude, then I will hold it against them and tip less or not tip as a result. The most ridiculous thing about tipping culture now is that you have to tip on DoorDash or whatever delivery app before the person even delivers your food. So they could show up like an hour late. They could show up with half of what you ordered or the totally wrong thing, and you would have tipped them anyway, because it forces you to.
That used to be the option used to be like, if you tipped ahead of time, you'd get better service because it was rarer.
Right.
If you did the tip before they got there, so sometimes that would get them to work a little bit harder.
Well, with like me getting my hair done, for instance, I want to tip them well because I'm giving them a lot of power.
It's a lot of power in it. Yeah.
I don't want a vindictive hairdresser to ruin my life.
The lady that cuts my hair 50% every time.
50. Wow. Yeah. That's actually, I would never tip 50%.
Though, to be fair, there was like one time where I definitely like she cut the part too far and then it had to like regrow back. I was a little bit salty for that.
Still
one.
50 though?
But
out of principle?
I didn't notice it until later. But in general, the idea is like you give that person a lot of power. Like I've been like literally, I was thinking about this recently. I was like, when am I going to get my hair cut before the wedding? Because I can't do it like the week before in case something has to be 2 weeks before to give yourself time in case it's not perfect and, to let the hair regrow or something. That's a lot of responsibility. And I asked that question, I'm like, does it ever like bother you that like there's a lot riding on literally every haircut? You know what I mean? Like, does somebody ever come in and be like, got the biggest job interview of my life in like 2 hours? Crap.
Yeah. And they know if you turn
screw
someone
up,
around, they're going to be like, oh, it's great. Like, but it's just like the infuriating part of the Gen Z gaze in customer service is it's like, what do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to say? Because I'm actually the one being placed with the burden right now to understand you non-verbally. This one said, I go into a restaurant and get the stare from a hostess, say table for two. She turns around and walks away. Now, is she showing me to my table, checking for availability, quitting her job on the spot? We'll never know. You just have to take a wild guess.
No, and the thing is that actually is a fair argument that it could not be her being rude. It's literally she doesn't understand social interaction enough to look back and be like, give me 1 second, I have to check.
Right.
Or literally look back to give them the the non-verbal communication to follow me. It's literally just not knowing how to human very well.
Everyone is becoming autistic now because they're online. That's, I think, what the real problem is here. And people not being raised right. This is apparently going beyond just food service, though. Doctors and dentists' front desk people act like they have no idea why you're there and give a dazed stare like they don't know what a doctor or dentist is.
But you have an appointment? Like today?
Yeah. Or it's like you call a business now and an employee picks up the phone and they just say, hello?
Is there going to be a version of like a Gen Z cop who's like taking your statement and they're like...
They pull you over and you roll down your window and they just don't say anything.
And you have to look up at them, press X, and then the NPC like script goes and they're like, do you know how fast you were going?
But guess what, Brett? It's not the internet. It's not just people having low standards for themselves and others. It's COVID's fault.
It's COVID.
Yeah.
That was the most infuriating part of this article.
This was one possible link to the decline of social and verbal skills in Gen Z after the COVID-19 pandemic. 2024 survey found that reduced in-person interactions have particularly affected Gen Z, as many were in education during the pandemic. As a consequence of the virtual world, they have missed out on crucial opportunities to both develop and practice their communication skills. Their lack of exposure affects their ability to read social cues, engage in spontaneous conversation, and build interpersonal relationships.
I think the most annoying part of both of these articles, both this one and the one from the San Francisco newspaper, is they literally advise everybody to treat Gen Z as if they're handicapped children.
Yes.
They're not stupid. They're teachable. They want to learn. You just got to try really hard.
You have to give them a treat.
You have to give them a treat.
You give them a little sweet treat.
And but basically both of these articles are like, it's not their fault they're stupid.
Right. Exactly.
They're literally treating them like babies. It's kind of crazy. They're like, in the other article, it's like women are dressing up like whores at the office. You have to just kindly say, ma'am, could you not dress like a whore at work?
Oh no, you're gonna get sued if you say that.
Like, I don't know what type of media you're watching at home, but that outfit is not appropriate for the office. Generally speaking, that if you're getting your fashion choices from websites that have an 18 plus consent button on them, it's not appropriate for a real world office. The office siren isn't a real thing.
No.
in the real world.
Well, I think that some of this is Gen Z being oblivious to social cues, and they genuinely don't know better. And it's partially the way they're raised. It's partially being super online. But a lot of them also are in a perceived class struggle against the customers.
And their bosses.
And their bosses. So they have an intense bubbling spite within them every time they have to interact with a customer, because they believe the customer is the oppressor and they are the oppressed. They are the lumpenproll.
There's also 3 decades of comedy propaganda of the quintessentially evil customer. It's a real thing. There are awful customers in every job.
Some customers are evil, and I've seen that.
The thing is, though, is there's a lopsided collection of jokes about the evil customer and the bad employee.
Right.
Both happen in the real world. I like this one part. It says, I remember the first time a friend told me that she didn't think customers were owed friendliness.
Oh my gosh. Like you owe friendliness to society. Period.
Literally, it's good for your own, it's good for your heart.
Yes.
To be kind and polite to people.
Yeah, even and especially.
And you should be hard on yourself if you're not. You should hold yourself accountable for that. Like to this day, maybe it's just the way my parents raised me, but if I forget to say thank you for something, that is, I get angsty having to like apologize for not saying thank you at a point where saying thank you to someone is
that's a
beneficial.
Good sign.
And if you're looking to get married and you go out on a date to a restaurant, pay very close attention to how they treat wait staff.
Yeah.
In general.
These are considered, markers for a red flag for a reason. It says a lot about your character, how you interact with strangers who, don't owe you anything. You have to, it's a two-way street, yes, but you owe friendliness regardless of whether it's involved in your job. And they just act disappointed that someone showed up to the place of business where they work, and you walk up to them and you feel like you need to apologize just for being there.
If you're at a job, it is your job to be friendly.
Only the owner at this point of a restaurant is going to be nice to you, because they're the only one with a stake in how they perform.
Yes.
In keeping a returning customer.
I mean, that's one of the hardest things to explain to people that don't really understand what risk it is as a boss to own a business like that.
We got a 20 from Rabid Wino. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. alleged there was a CDC cover-up of an internal study showing a 1,135% increased autism risk from the hepatitis B vaccine. I heard about that on X earlier this week, but I looked into it and I couldn't find the source of RFK saying that. So if you could help me out, I'd love to know.
Just be polite to people at your job, especially because literally that's what they're paying. If you have a front-facing customer service job, be polite to people, but be polite to people anyways for your own well-being, literally because it's good for your soul.
There was a response from a Zoomer actually defending the Gen Z gays, saying, no disrespect, but if you had to deal with the insane amount of absolutely effing brain dead people you've ever met in your life for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you would do this, and people have been doing this since jobs as a concept were invented. Jobs were not invented, they always existed. You have to work to survive in the world. The amount of strange, annoying, bratty, mentally absent, and generally unpleasant people you meet on the daily is enough for you to go into fight or flight at even the suggestion of talking to one of them. Have a nice day, I say, as they walk away out of the door before they finish paying, and I have to yell at them to get back here so they don't steal. Or they can't find a hyper-specific item and make it your fault. Your distributor didn't hook you up with it. It's even worse if they're old. No one is denying that some customers are nightmares.
Guess what? You're not cut out for this.
Like,
You're like, literally, this is a skills issue on your own part. There are people who work these retail jobs. I've met them in every retail job I ever had. They've been there for 20 years and it doesn't bother them. They love it, whether it's because they just love people and they love the ability to interact with individuals. That's their bag and they love it and they come to work every day happy. And even if they're not, they hide it because they know that that's what they are being paid there to do. In absence of having a marketable, irreplaceable skill, your ability to be polite to the people around you is the service that you are selling.
Yeah.
You have a fundamental lack of understanding of how the business world works, and you're going to suffer forever until you go to college and develop some skill set where you can work on your own, and it doesn't matter. In that case, good. If what you want to do is go into computer coding because you don't have to deal with people, good. But that doesn't mean anything because that just means that you're bad at the job you currently have. It's kind of a flex on your part that you could be bad at a job that anybody's qualified for, but good at a job that few people are qualified for.
if you're this much of a brooding misanthrope, don't work a service job. As you said, it's a good idea for you to just go into a field where you don't have to interact with people in your job.
I've done both. Like I've worked. I worked at Target. I've worked at gas stations. I've worked at my very first job was pushing carts at a grocery store. That's a job that will keep you in shape. Holy crap! But I also drove for a medical supply company and did nothing but sit alone in a car for 8 hours a day. And guess what? I loved it. I loved just not having to talk to anyone at all or interact with anyone except for the businesses that I dropped off medications to. Mm-hmm. Well,
there are benefits to both and drawbacks to both, but the entire way that post was worded says, I think the entire world revolves around me. I blame everyone else for my problems. I feel easily emotionally wounded by someone not treating me with kid gloves. And that is a problem within Gen Z, not everyone else.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.